It happened on the first day of April. But not the kind of April Fool's Day you laugh about. The air in Denton, Texas, was dry. It smelled like dust, gasoline, and suddenly, lilacs. I stood on the front porch of my mother's old house. And something inside me knew. Something was wrong. Mom never planted lilacs. She thought they were too sentimental. And this house, it hadn't smelled like anything for years. Only emptiness. Now, it smelled like something was waking up. My mother had died 3 days ago. Stroke. Quick. Too quick for goodbyes. The hospital called at 5:42 a.m. A woman's voice. Flat. Practiced. Miss Taylor, your mother's gone. I'm sorry. I didn't cry. Not right away. My name is Elie Taylor. 33 years old. Freelancer. Former anthropology student. A loner. I had left Denton almost a decade ago, swearing I'd never come back. But the past doesn't ask permission. It just kicks in the door. So there I was. Back in her house. The same creaky floors. The same mail-stuffed mailbox. The same feeling that this place was frozen in time. Mom lived here for 30 years. Alone. And for 30 years, she hid something. You know what's strange? When a parent dies, you don't feel like you finally understand them. You realize you never did. I stood in her living room, looking at her old rocking chair. The lamp I broke when I was 12, still taped back together with yellowed Scotch tape. On the wall, one photo, faded. My mother, young, next to a man I didn't recognize. I once asked her, "Is that my father?" She smiled tightly. "It's not important, Elie. You're strong enough without him." And that was that. While sorting through her things, I found a key. Small. Brass. Heavy. Stamped with the words J and R lockboxes. Unit 14. A quick search told me it was a storage facility out near Louisville. Half an hour from Denton. Every part of me screamed, "Don't go." But I went. The place sat between a broken-down auto shop and a dusty Walmart parking lot. The kind of spot nobody notices. The kind of spot meant to be forgotten. I paid $18 in cash. Followed a bored teenager through rows of rusted doors. Found Unit 14. Inside, one plastic container. And a single letter. Taped on top. In shaky handwriting. "If anything happens to me, give this to Elie." My hands shook as I peeled the tape. The paper smelled faintly metallic, like it had been sealed away from the world for a long time. I unfolded it. "Elie, I'm sorry you're finding out this way. I always thought I'd tell you myself. But I was scared. Not for me. For you. You're not who you think you are." It all started in 1992. They told me to stay silent. And I did. Until now. You know the worst thing? I spent 33 years convincing myself I didn't need answers. That the past was dead and buried. That the truth wouldn't change anything. But in that moment, reading her words, I wasn't 33. I was a child again. Small. Confused. Desperate to understand. All those times she wouldn't meet my eyes. All those times she changed the subject. Now I knew why. At the bottom of the container, under a layer of yellowed newspaper, I found a VHS tape. Thick. Dusty. On the label, stark black letters. Property of U.S. Department of Defense. Restricted access. My whole world shifted. I don't remember how I got back to my mother's house. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped the keys twice at the door. The tape was in my bag, heavy like a ticking bomb. Black. Gray label. Stamped with the words, U.S. Department of Defense. Restricted. No date. No description. Just a code in the corner, OCT92A19BLACKRIDG. I had no idea what Blackridge was. But it didn't sound like a place. It sounded like a warning. In the house, I tore through the attic until I found an old Sony VCR. Dusty. Half broken. Remote missing. After 30 frustrating minutes of tangled cords and static, the screen finally flickered to life. I fed the tape into the machine. The sound came first. Low. Crackling. Then a voice. This footage is for internal use only. Level 6 clearance required. Violation is subject to federal prosecution. I froze. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't home video. The screen shifted. A dark room. The American flag behind a shadowed man in uniform. Subject. Testimony regarding Agent S. Identity concealed as per Directive 19B. His voice was flat. Professional. Almost bored. But what he said next shattered everything I thought I knew. Agent S was embedded in a classified civilian relocation program, following unauthorized exposure to Project Blackridge materials. Subject E. Taylor is the child of Agent S and an unidentified individual previously believed to be deceased. DNA confirmation pending. Taylor. My last name. I hit pause. Hard. Under surveillance since 1993. They were watching me. Since childhood. My skin crawled. This wasn't about my mother hiding a mistake. This was bigger. Colder. Calculated. I hit play again. The man leaned forward into the light, but his face stayed blurred. Final words. If Subject E ever uncovers information, notify Langley. Do not engage. Langley. The CIA. I sat on the floor, my legs numb. The house seemed to press in around me. Walls too close. Air too thin. My whole life. Every move. Every step. Not a coincidence. A case file. I remembered the flash drive I had found in my mother's lockbox. I hadn't checked it fully yet. Hands trembling, I plugged it into my old offline laptop. One file appeared. Encrypted. And a single document. If you find this, go to Elk Valley. Find the Blue Church. Ask for Reverend Mason. Show him the card. The card. I dug through my bag. The plastic card I'd ignored. Embossed letters, visitor access. Level 6. Langley Archives. Elk Valley. A nowhere town on the edge of the Monongahela Forest. Barely a blip on the map. Nothing but dirt roads and faded store signs. But that's where she wanted me to go. I called Karen, the only person I still trusted. A former journalist turned freelancer. Someone who knew how to find the stories nobody wanted found. I told her everything. About the tape, the surveillance, the project. Silence. Then Karen's voice, low and urgent. You sure you want to keep digging? I'm already digging. Then listen. Black Ridge was real. A military base. Closed after a fire in '93. Whispers of genetics. Behavioral modification. Classified as a black project. No public trace. My blood ran cold. If you're connected to it, Elie, you're not just part of the past. You are the past and the future. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of something hitting the mailbox. I rushed outside. A plain envelope. No return address. No stamps. Inside, one photograph. My mother. Pregnant. Standing next to a military vehicle. Behind her, the gates of a facility. And next to her, a man in uniform. His face half in shadow. But even from the grainy image, I knew. I carried his eyes. I sat there for hours, staring at the photo I had found in the envelope. My mother, pregnant, standing beside a military vehicle. Behind her, the gates of a facility marked with bold black letters. Black Ridge. On the back of the photo, a faded message, barely legible. Save her. Her. Me. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Couldn't think straight. Black Ridge wasn't just a word. It was the center of everything. I pulled up old maps. Elkins, West Virginia. A sleepy town at the edge of the Monongahela National Forest. 17 miles northwest. The remains of the Black Ridge site. Officially decommissioned. Unofficially erased. No clear road in. No clear road out. I borrowed Karen's old Honda Civic. Faded blue paint. A cracked windshield. But it ran like a dream. And right now, that was all that mattered. I packed a sleeping bag. A flashlight. Granola bars. A hunting knife I barely knew how to use. I drove west. Through Oklahoma. Through Kansas. Through Colorado. Through South Dakota. 23 hours on the road. Minimal stops. No calls. No texts. Only me. The open road. And a growing pit in my stomach. When I finally hit the hills of West Virginia, the world changed. The air smelled wetter. Older. Heavier. The roads narrowed. The woods thickened. The world here felt untouched. Forgotten. In Elkins, I checked into a shabby motel called Blue Ridge Lodge. Stained carpet. A rattling AC unit. And the lingering smell of old cigarette smoke. Perfect. Invisible. I spread the map out on the bed. The old service road that once led to Black Ridge was still there. Barely. Gray lines fading into nothingness on Google Maps. No GPS. No satellite images. Just a name. And a direction. At sunrise, I hit the road. The service road was barely drivable. Cracked asphalt. Overgrown weeds. Government warning signs every few miles. Government property. No trespassing. Violators will be prosecuted. I drove slowly, heart pounding with every mile. After a while, the road became too dangerous. I had to leave the car, continue on foot, and that's when I saw it. The house. It sat crooked by the side of the abandoned road, wood peeling from the walls, roof sagging, windows broken, like a ghost breathing out dust. It wasn't on any map. It wasn't in any records. But it was there. And it was waiting. The mailbox out front was rusted, but one word was still carved into it with a knife. Walker. Walker. The same name from the military file. The same name whispered in my mother's final letter. This wasn't random. This was the beginning. The front door creaked open with a slight push. The air inside was heavy with mildew and rust. It smelled like time itself had rotted. Inside, the house was almost empty. Except for one thing. On the far wall, a massive board, pinned with dozens of photographs. Children, boys and girls, all around 6 or 7 years old. Each photo carefully labeled with names, dates, locations. In the bottom corner, I saw it. My face. My second grade school photo. Blue sweater. Gap-toothed grin. Pinned to the wall like an exhibit. Underneath my picture, written in red marker. Subject ET, status, active. Location, Denton, Texas. They knew exactly where I was. And maybe they still did. I stood there, frozen in that crumbling house, surrounded by faces I didn't know. And one face I knew too well. Mine, pinned up like a trophy, like a case study. Subject ET. Active. They had been watching me my whole life. On the table nearby, a stack of thick folders, all stamped with bold black letters. Blackridge Recovery Unit. Phase 2. I opened one. Inside, reports, charts, photos, medical records, school transcripts, surveillance notes from random days of my life. I wasn't just observed. I was cataloged, analyzed, predicted. The newest photo chilled me the most. It was taken 4 months ago, at a Starbucks in Denton. I had no idea anyone was there, watching, recording. I closed the folder and backed away from the table, fighting the urge to scream. I wasn't living my life. I was living inside someone else's experiment. I stumbled outside. The road was empty. The forest pressed close around the clearing. Silent. Still. And that's when I saw her. At the edge of the trees. A woman in a red baseball cap. Standing perfectly still. Hands in her jacket pockets. Watching me. Not moving. Not hiding. Just waiting. I pretended to check the flat tire on the car. Acting casual. Acting normal. But my heart slammed against my ribs. I glanced up again. She hadn't moved. When I blinked, she was gone. Vanished. Like smoke. I didn't wait. I left the car behind. Ran through the woods. Branches tearing at my clothes. Mud pulling at my shoes. I ran until I hit asphalt. A dusty highway. A forgotten diner on the corner. Jake's Gas and Diner. I stumbled inside. The smell of frying bacon and burnt coffee hit me like a wall. A man behind the counter looked up. Plaid shirt. Baseball cap. Weathered face. "You lost, sweetheart?" I could barely nod. I found a payphone tucked in the corner. Dropped a few coins in. Hands trembling. I called Karen. When she answered, I told her everything. The photos. The files. The woman in the red cap. Karen's voice was sharp. Tense. "Elie, listen to me. You have to disappear. Now. Erase your phone. Ditch the car. Get somewhere without cameras. No hesitation. No questions." Her voice broke for just a second. Then the line went dead. Disconnected. I stood there, staring at the phone, feeling the world tilt under my feet. I turned toward the window, and there she was again, the woman in the red cap, standing right outside the diner. Closer now, smiling, not kindly, not warmly, a cold, knowing smile, as if to say, "You can run, but you can't hide." I froze. On the other side of the glass, the woman in the red cap stood perfectly still, arms folded across her chest, watching me. Our eyes met for a second, just long enough. And I remembered my mother's warning. If you see the sign, do not look into their eyes. Too late. I tore my gaze away, bolted for the back door of the diner, shoved it open with my shoulder. The alley smelled like grease and garbage. I didn't care. I ran. Behind the diner. Across a cracked parking lot. Past a rusted pickup truck with keys dangling from the ignition. I didn't hesitate. I jumped inside. Slammed the door. Started the engine. It roared to life. Old, loud. But it moved. I peeled out onto the highway. Gravel spitting behind me. 10 miles down the road. I turned onto a dirt path. Drove until trees swallowed the road. Until the world felt forgotten. I killed the engine. Sat there. Breathing hard. I had no plan. No safe place. No one I could call. Karen was gone. The only person I trusted had vanished. I was alone. I checked the flash drive again. The one from the storage unit. My hands were shaking as I plugged it into my old laptop. One file appeared. Encrypted. Locked tight. And one small text document. Simple instructions. If you find this, go to Elk Valley. Find the Blue Church. Ask for Reverend Mason. Show him the card. The card. I dug through my bag. Found the plastic badge tucked inside a book. Visitor access. Level 6. Langley Archives. It didn't look like much. But it was everything. I searched the map. Elk Valley. Tiny town deep inside the Monongahela forest. No hotels. No gas stations. One diner. One church. Exactly the kind of place where secrets went to sleep. I had no choice. I started driving. Fast. Every mile stretching longer than the last. When I finally rolled into Elk Valley, the town looked abandoned. Old storefronts boarded up. A single barber shop with a hand-painted open sign swinging in the wind. The church stood at the edge of town. Peeling blue paint. Tilted cross on the roof. The First Baptist Church of Elk Valley. I pushed the door open. It creaked like a wounded animal. Inside. Silence. Empty pews. Dust motes dancing in slants of fading sunlight. No one in sight. Then I heard footsteps. Soft, deliberate. An old man stepped into view. Faded jeans. Plaid shirt. Graying hair pulled back into a rough ponytail. Eyes sharp. Measuring. Reverend Mason? He nodded. Looked me up and down. You're Elie. Not a question. A fact. I pulled out the card. Held it out to him. He didn't even look at it. Just sighed. Long and heavy. Then we don't have much time. I opened my mouth to ask what he meant. But before I could, something shattered. A rock through the stained glass window. Then another. And another. Outside. Figures gathered in the dusk. 4 of them. All wearing dark jackets. Caps pulled low. No faces. No words. Just purpose. And it was aimed at me. The rocks kept coming. Glass shattered across the pews. The air filled with dust and the sharp smell of panic. Reverend Mason moved fast. Faster than I thought a man his age could. He pushed aside the pulpit, revealing a hidden hatch built into the floor. Down there, now. His voice left no room for argument. I scrambled down into the dark. The door slammed shut above me. I heard the sound of furniture being dragged. A makeshift barricade. Below. It was pitch black. The air damp and heavy. I stumbled forward. Hands against cold concrete walls. A narrow tunnel stretched ahead, lit only by the thin beam of my flashlight. I moved fast. Boots sliding on the dirt floor. Heartbeat hammering in my ears. Behind me, the sounds of shouting. Heavy boots pounding on the floorboards. They were inside the church now. They were looking for me. The tunnel led to a small underground room. Just big enough for a table. A filing cabinet. And an old steel safe. On the safe, a keypad. I fished the card from my pocket. The one my mother had left for me. On the back, scratched in tiny letters. 7-9-3-2. I punched in the numbers, holding my breath. Click. The door swung open. Inside, a tablet. Old. Scratched. But alive. Its screen flickering to life. Only one file appeared. Labeled Eleanor_T. I tapped it. My hands shaking so hard I could barely hold on. My mother's face filled the screen. Pale. Tired. But determined. Elie. If you're seeing this, it means you found them. And it means you're ready for the truth. She looked directly into the camera. Into me. You are not an accident. You are not a mistake. You are the result of Project Blackridge. You were born with abilities they couldn't predict. And that made you dangerous. Not just to them, but to their entire system. She lifted a photo, held it up to the camera. A man's face, half in shadow. The same man from the old military photos. Your father, Dr. Samuel Walker, lead geneticist, Project Blackridge. Walker, the name on the mailbox, the name carved into the past. They wanted to keep you hidden, or control you. When that failed, they started hunting. You must run, Elie. Not because you're weak, but because you are their last loose thread. Whatever you decide next, decide it for yourself. Not for them. Not for me. For you. The screen went black. Above me, the sounds of splintering wood. Shouts. Footsteps. They were breaking through. I grabbed the tablet, stuffed it into my backpack, found another door hidden in the far wall, kicked it open. Cold air rushed in. Freedom. I ran. Through the trees. Through the darkness. Through the unknown. I didn't know where I was going. I only knew I couldn't stop. As I stumbled onto an empty road, thumbed a ride from a passing trucker, and disappeared into the night. My phone buzzed once in my pocket. A single message. No sender. No subject. Your next move is yours. The truck rumbled down the highway, lights cutting through the endless dark. I sat in the passenger seat, staring at the empty fields rushing past. My phone was silent now, the message gone, as if it had never been there. But I knew what it said. Your next move is yours. The driver didn't ask questions, didn't glance at me twice, just offered me a bottle of water and a ride west. I gave him the name of a city. Roanoke, Virginia. Far enough. Quiet enough. A place to disappear. At a rundown motel on the edge of town. I checked in under a name that wasn't mine. Paid cash. No ID. No paper trail. The room smelled like mildew and old cigarettes. The bed sagged in the middle. The heater rattled and hummed. But for now, it was enough. I sat on the floor, tablet in my lap, looking at the last coordinates my mother left behind. Coordinates deep in Nevada, in the desert, near a facility no one talked about. Not Area 51. Another place. Area 6. A place erased from maps. A place swallowed by silence. I stared at the blinking dot on the screen, felt the weight of every step that had brought me here. I could run. I could hide. I could build a life somewhere far away. But deep inside, I knew I wouldn't. Not because I had to, but because now, I chose to. I remembered what my mother said. You are not their property. You are not their project. You are free. Freedom isn't safety. Freedom is risk. Freedom is stepping into the unknown. Without guarantees. Without promises. Just you. And your will. At sunrise, I bought an old Jeep from a guy who didn't ask my name. Paid everything I had. No plates. No paperwork. Just a key. and the open road. I packed my things, pulled a baseball cap low over my eyes, and drove west, toward Nevada, toward the truth, toward whatever waited for me out there. In the rearview mirror, for just a second, I thought I saw her, the woman in the red cap, standing by the roadside, not chasing me, not stopping me, just watching, with that same faint smile. As if she knew the real journey was only beginning. The desert stretched out before me, endless, silent, brutal, no promises, no maps, only the road and the choice I made. Sometimes freedom isn't a destination, it's a decision. Sometimes the real escape isn't running from something, it's running toward yourself. I don't know what I'll find out there. Maybe nothing, maybe everything, but for the first time in my life, I'm not afraid of the unknown. I'm driving straight into it, with my eyes open, and my heart ready. The end. Thanks for sharing this moment with me. Hit like, subscribe, and stay for more stories. We're just getting started. You're listening to Universe Stories.